All right. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the 4th Annual Mock Trial Showcase here at Notre Dame Belmont. I'm Jonathan Tomczak, and I am proud to be the mock trial coach here at Notre Dame. What I love about NDB's mock trial program specifically is how we don't just work hard to field a highly competitive, award-winning mock trial team, though we do and they are. But one of our other main goals in this program is to have as many people participate in mock trial as possible. That's why we developed our middle school immersion program, and it's why we have the mock trial showcase. It allows us to teach more students public speaking, critical thinking, and simply the art of advocacy, all of which are important skills that students can use throughout their entire lives. That's part of why NDB not only has the only all-female mock trial program in San Mateo County, but why we also have the largest mock trial team across the state of California. For most of our showcase team, tonight is their very first trial. They are mostly rookies who have worked for a long time to develop their questions and play their roles. It is just the first step on their mock trial journey with a long career ahead of them. And in fact, she won't tell you this, but our judge tonight began as a member of our very first showcase team. So once again, welcome. We're going to try to manage any hopefully small technical difficulties that might arise, but no matter what, the show will go on, and a recorded version is going to be uploaded to the school's YouTube page at NDB Tigers in just a few days. For now, sit back and enjoy NDB's 2025 Mock Trial Showcase. Whew. All right, take it away, Your Honor.
All right, hi everyone. My name is Bella Svanberg. I'm a current senior here at Notre Dame. I'm on the varsity team and I'm a defense attorney. So this is my 4th year and last year on the mock trial team, and I'm just so honored to be part of this program. And looking at all of you guys here tonight, I'm just so incredibly proud of all of you and your hard work this season. So with that being said, first I would like to welcome Coach Eric and Coach Molly, who are in the back over there, and they will be our scores for tonight. They will also determine the points of the trial. Second, tonight we will not be doing formal introductions, so witnesses and attorneys will be introducing yourselves as you go along. So for example, opening statement attorneys, you will introduce yourself as you go through the trial. Similarly, to save time, we will just assume that all witnesses have been sworn in, so you don't need to do nothing but the truth. And finally, we won't worry about keeping time tonight, so there will be no cutoffs on your arguments. So, with all that said, all parties are present for the people versus Logan Gold. Logan Gold has been charged with kidnapping. Before we proceed to trial, I understand that the defense has filed a motion to exclude evidence. Is the defense ready to make arguments on this motion?
Yes.
Okay, you may proceed.
Good evening, Your Honor, and may it please the court, the defense moves to suppress Logan Gold's statement and all evidence pertaining to it, as it violates my client's Fifth Amendment rights because it was made involuntarily and during an illegal interrogation. Deputy Kim used more than one coercive tactic that led Gold into making a statement. One was having his hand on his holstered gun, and two was placing a tape recorder in the middle of the table. Logan Gold's spouse is Harper DeRay, and this loving couple has a child together. In Gold and DeRay's statements, it both shows that they were very nervous when Deputy Kim that Deputy Kim's actions and words were expecting some type of response. In Gold's statement, it directly says, "I was very nervous when Deputy Kim stood just a few feet from me and put their hand on their holstered gun." In DeRay's statement, it also says, "I was very nervous." Even though Deputy Kim claims that by putting down items from their pockets on the table, they were just trying to get comfortable and also make the couple feel at ease, they did not accomplish that. The deputy claims that they were just trying to make themselves comfortable and also make the couple feel comfortable, but that did not happen. Deputy Kim has the experience of 10 years on the job and should know that their actions have an effect on people, whether the person is guilty or not. The two cases of Edwards v. Arizona and State v. Finehout show that Deputy Kim's statement should be considered coercive actions. In Edwards v. Arizona, the suspect was forced to return to interrogation after invoking their Fifth Amendment rights. Similarly to the case at bar, Gold was forced to return. Gold was illegally interrogated by Deputy Kim after they had invoked their Fifth Amendment rights. It required a knowing and intelligent waiver of their rights in order for continued interrogation, but Gold did not agree to any continued conversation. In the case of State v. Finehout, the court ruled that the statement made by a detective, "It's just better to tell the truth and get everything out in the open," was coercive. In following that court's ruling, Deputy Kim's statement to Gold, "You better make sure DeRay knows everything. You don't want to jeopardize their position or by making them complicit in something," and telling Gold to lay everything out must be considered coercive.
So, sorry, just let me interrupt you real quick. What case defines the totality of the circumstances, and how should it be applied to this case?
I believe the case that defined totality of circumstances, I believe it was People v. Musselwhite, and in that case, the circumstances were very different from the case at bar.
Could you elaborate a little bit on that?
Yes. So in People, sorry, please give me a moment. In People v. Musselwhite, the suspect was promised leniency for cooperating with the police, and also they told him that, like, a lie, basically, but it was very different from this case, because in this case, Gold was not, like, promised any leniency, and he was not told any not truths by Deputy Kim.
Thank you. You may proceed.
Your Honor, the statement that was made by Logan Gold during an illegal interrogation needs to be excluded from this trial. If this statement is allowed into court, it will become a precedent case that can be used in future trials. As a California state court, the ruling from this case, by allowing this statement to trial, the court would be allowing unconstitutional coercion to be used in the future without consequence. This statement under no circumstances can be allowed in trial because it was made during an illegal interrogation due to Deputy Kim's actions and statements. The defense respectfully requests that the statement, all things pertaining to it, be suppressed from the preceding trial. Thank you.
Thank you. And prosecution, your response? And just remember, everyone, please introduce yourselves before you start so the scorers can keep track.
Good evening, Your Honor. My name is Grace Richmond, and tonight I'll be arguing the pretrial motion on behalf of the people of the state of California. May it please the court, the prosecution respectfully requests that the court deny the defense's motion to suppress and admit the defendant's statement into the following trial as Gold's Fifth Amendment rights were not violated. As outlined in People v. Musselwhite, when determining the coerciveness of a situation, one must examine each factor in the totality of the circumstances. And after examination in the context of the situation, it is abundantly clear that the deputy did not violate the defendant's Fifth Amendment rights. The second interaction with the police on December 4th, 2023, did not violate the defendant's Fifth Amendment rights because Gold knew the deputy would be present. According to Edwards v. Arizona, a detective must not conduct questioning unless there is a knowing and intelligent relinquishment of a known right or privilege. As shown in DeRay's statement, when they learned that Gold was in custody, they rushed to the police station and demanded to talk to the defendant. Deputy Kim let them do so, provided that Kim stayed in the room. By consenting to a conversation in which they knew Kim would be present, Gold reinitiated contact with the deputy, making the conversation legal. Additionally, and the deputy's statement do not constitute an interrogation or its functional equivalent. According to Arizona v. Morrow, an interrogation is defined by direct questioning and manipulation or ploy. None of Kim's statements, objectively, are direct questions. And
One question, since you're talking about the interrogation. In the interrogation room, the deputy mentioned Harper DeRay's future position as city council member, and you might be getting onto that, but I'd like to hear about this. But does this statement regarding their occupation change your conclusion regarding the coerciveness?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
Yeah, of course. I'm just touching on the fact that in the interrogation room, it was brought up that Harper DeRay's obviously their spouse on this trial. And so how does this statement kind of change your argument or change your conclusion about the coerciveness? Detective's perspective.
Well, there is no causal link between Kim's statements and Gould's response, because between Kim's statements and Gould's response, there was a conversation between the spouse and the defendant's spouse, DeRay, and Gould about legal representation. And the very existence of this conversation means that there is no causal link between Kim's statement and Gould's response. Okay. Finally, the deputy's conduct regarding the placement of the tape recorder on the table and their hands on their hips must not be considered coercive to amount to an interrogation. According to Arizona v. Morrow, the use of a recording device, even when activated, is not considered coercive. Additionally, the deputy's placement of their body was not coercive, as it was intended to make the officer feel more comfortable given the circumstances. Deputy Kim mentioned that they wanted to make Gould feel at ease, and according to Rhode Island v. Innis, intent is determined through the deputy's statement. And also, considering that the deputy is a professional with many years of experience and training and no previous complaints, they can be trusted. For these reasons, Gould's statement must be admitted into the following trial. Thank you.
Thank you. Defense Rebuttal.
Yes. If we look at the totality of circumstances in this case, we have two reasonable people saying that they felt intimidated by Deputy Kim. They said that his hand was on his gun, he was standing near them, which was very intimidating, and they did not know why there was a tape recorder in the middle of the table. And they said in their statements it made them feel ill at ease. So this is two reasonable people saying that they felt like Deputy Kim was trying to do something and they really weren't sure what it was. And there is no causal link between, there is a causal link between Deputy Kim's statements and Gould's statement. Because if Deputy Kim had not said anything and had simply just let the couple talk about their legal representation, then there most likely would have been no statement made by Gould, because the result of Deputy Kim's statements was Gould getting flustered and saying something that they shouldn't have been saying. And that is all I have.
Thank you. Prosecution?
The defense in their statement mentioned that the totality of the circumstances is not applicable to this case. So yet in their rebuttal, they mentioned the totality of the circumstances, and I think this just demonstrates that they do not have a correct understanding of this case. And for the intent versus the impact of the deputy's statement, I would once again like to point out Rhode Island v. Innis, as I mentioned in my statement, that determined that intent is determined through the deputy's statement. And once again, they said that they wanted to make Gould feel at ease. That is all. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you from our pretrial attorneys. So just give me a moment to process all that information. If you guys want to organize, or are you guys all good staying how it is? Table set up, all good?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, so upon hearing both arguments, I just want to say both of you did an amazing job. I really liked both of your arguments, and you were very good at going back and forth. And I just want to say here that my ruling does not reflect how you guys argued. It's just my perspective of the law. So in this case, I do not think that the deputy acted with coerciveness. I think they had the right intent, and so therefore, the evidence in this case will be admitted. So whatever evidence you want to use in this case, you're allowed to use. So with that being said, and before we start with opening statements, prosecution, do you have any further questions?
Yes, Your Honor. Good evening. Aaliyah Bakai for the people of the state of California. Before proceeding with opening statements, the people request permission to address a few preliminary matters. Firstly, the people request permission to move about the well for statements and for our own direct examinations.
No, Your Honor.
And in interest of time, we ask that the court consider the stipulations to have been constructively read into the record and admitted to evidence according to Mock Trial Rule 3.1d.
Any objection?
No, Your Honor.
Next, the people have brought 6 exhibits tonight, identified by stipulation 11, and ask that they be marked as exhibits as listed for identification purposes. And let the record reflect that prior to trial, we showed the defense these exhibits. And lastly, Your Honor, we'd like to make note of the most recent errata, January 7th, and the most recent case packet. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. And anything from the defense?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, with that being done, we'll begin with opening statements. So, prosecution, would you like to start first?
Thank you, Your Honor. And once again, for scoring purposes, my name is Aaliyah Bakai. Elections have consequences, some of which go past the political. What you will hear tonight is how the City Council election of Emerald Bend would have significant ramifications on Logan Gold and their family. It wasn't just a job, not just a livelihood, but a legacy that was on the line. You'll hear how, to protect that legacy, Logan Gold kidnapped their spouse's opponent, Taylor Alexander, to pull this neck-and-neck election in their family's favor. Tonight, the prosecution have called 4 witnesses to the stand. From their testimony, you will learn that the Gold Standard Inn, passed down through generations in the Gold family, was under threat due to vacation rentals and tourism. You will hear Taylor Alexander testify that if she had won the election, she would increase tourism and make it easier to rent out vacation rentals so the people of Emerald Bend would not be in financial distress. But that, in turn, would increase the threat on the hotel. Additionally, you will hear from the local journalist, Ali Sandoval, who was covering this election, about how Logan Gold was passionately invested in the outcome from the very beginning. And in a close election like this, where anything might tip the scales, the debate on November 11th, 2023 was of utmost importance. You'll hear how that morning, the morning of the debate, Logan Gold was only seen once prior to it, and that was 3 hours earlier when they were seen speaking with CJ Costley by their home in Ambrosia Lake. You will hear how the next time Logan Gold was seen was at 12:30, when they arrived uncharacteristically late to their spouse's crucial election debate. The evidence tonight will show what Logan Gold was really doing that morning. Gold kidnapped Taylor Alexander, bound her arms and legs to a metal chair, drugged her, and stashed her in a shed, all in hopes of stopping Miss Alexander from attending that debate, tilting this neck-and-neck election in Harper's favor, Gold's family's favor. You will hear from Deputy Riley Kim, the investigating officer in this case, as well as the forensic expert, Dr. Forrest, about how the tire tracks which were found on Miss Alexander's driveway at Lakeside Drive were matched those of Miss Gold's car. Additionally, the toxicology report will confirm Miss Alexander's account. Additionally, you will hear how Logan Gold admitted, "I was just trying to protect the family inn and make sure it was passed down for generations." Legacy, Your Honor. That's what was on the line in this election. And by the time my colleagues, Ms. Cornwell and Ms. Salome and I have rested our case, it will be clear to the court, beyond a reasonable doubt, just how far Logan Gold went to protect their legacy and everything that was on the line. Therefore, we will ask for a verdict of guilty on the charge of kidnapping under CalCrim 1215. Thank you.
Thank you, prosecution. Now, will defense like to do their opening statement at this time or wait until prosecution has rested their case?
Now, Your Honor. On the morning of November 11th, 5:30 a.m., Taylor Alexander stepped outside for what should have been a simple morning run. In an instant, they became the center of a harrowing tale of an alleged kidnapping. But tonight, I ask you to look closer at this case, not just at the dramatic claims, but at the shaky foundation upon which they are built. This case is built off speculation, emotion, and uncorroborated claims that fail to hold up to scrutiny. Desperation breeds deception. It twists the truth, creating narratives that feel real but may not reflect the evidence and the facts. In this case, that deception begins with the absence of evidence. The prosecution will present 4 witnesses, all eager to tie Logan Gold to this alleged crime. But not a single one can tell you where Taylor Alexander was in the crucial hours surrounding the purported kidnapping. Alexander describes a terrifying encounter: a pillowcase over his head, ropes binding his wrists, yet in a location as isolated as the mountains surrounding Emerald Bend. Who else was there to witness this? No one. Not a soul saw the supposed abduction unfold. The only account we have is from Taylor Alexander, who, despite the effects of the drugs they claim to have been given, somehow regained composure enough to call the police hours later. That morning, Taylor Alexander ran outside clutching the keys to his house and the keys to his rental property, keys that later allowed him to escape from his own shed. To think of this idea, a victim kidnapped to their own rental property? Let's think about it. Or could this be a convenient narrative brought out in the wake of desperation? The defense will testify to Gold's whereabouts on the day of the alleged kidnapping and share details that ground him firmly on the opposite side of town, passing out flyers, unaware of the drama or any nefarious plot. Your Honor, the prosecution's narrative is filled with emotion but lacks the solid foundation of fact. They must meet the burden of the doubt, and after tonight, you will see that they have not. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Would the prosecution like to call their first witness?
Good evening, Your Honor. Cecile Salome for the people of the state of California. With the court's permission, I would like to pull up Deputy Riley Kim for witness. Could you please briefly introduce yourself to the court?
Of course. My name is Riley Kim, and I'm 42 years old. For the past 10 years, I've served as a deputy at Emerald Bend Sheriff Department.
Were you involved in the investigation of Miss Alexander's alleged kidnapping on November 11th, 2023?
I was. At 2:45, I received a call from Taylor Alexander, who had reported to me he was kidnapped and held at 1335 Lakeside Drive. I arrived at the scene approximately 45 minutes later.
When you arrived, what did you immediately observe?
Upon my arrival, I observed Taylor Alexander standing on the porch. His clothes muddy, red ligature marks on his wrists, and in his hand he held a gun.
Was there any other evidence at the scene?
Yes. In the storage shed, there was a metal chair and a blue dockline rope. And in the driveway, there were tire tracks, which I photographed, and I booked all of this into evidence and submitted it to Dr. Forrest for forensic analysis.
I'll come back to all this evidence in a moment, but I'd like to now turn to any witnesses you spoke to during the investigation. Did you interview Taylor Alexander?
I did as soon as I arrived at the scene.
Did you interview the defendant, Logan Gold?
Not only did I interview Logan Gold, but I also interviewed his spouse, Harper DeWay, and all the staff present at the DeWay campaign headquarters.
Did Logan Gold report as to their whereabouts on the morning of November 11th?
Yes, she reported to being alone, handing out flyers around Ambrosia Lake, and arrived at 12:30, which was half an hour after the debate had already begun.
Did you attempt to verify Miss Gold's story?
Of course I did. I went to Ambrosia Lake and found a mere 12 flyers handed out to his households. Along with this, only one person, CJ Crossley, had a direct interaction with Logan Gold, which occurred at 9:30, hours before the scheduled debate.
Your Honor, do I have your permission to bring up Exhibit E for the witness? Yes. All of it? Just this one? Deputy Kim, do you recognize what has been marked as Exhibit E?
I do. It was a receipt from Emerald Harbor and Supply dated November 5th, 2023.
Is this a fair and accurate depiction of the hardware store receipt you found at the Gold residence?
It is.
Your Honor, at this time, the people requested the photograph of the hardware store and receipt be moved into evidence as People's Exhibit E. What information was on the receipt?
The information contained the purchase of Blue Dockline Road.
Turning now to the tire tracks you mentioned earlier at the scene. Did you ever have a chance to examine the defendant's vehicle?
Yes, I did. After photographing the tire tracks, I attended in Dr. Forrest, forensic analysis, to which he confirmed that they matched the tire tracks on Logan Road's car. Then, I examined Logan Road's car and in his trunk. I found a foreign substance, which was auxiliary acid.
You mentioned Miss Alexander was holding a pillowcase when you responded to their call. Was there anything about this pillowcase that stood out to you?
Yes, there are three things.
There was
The
a
1-inch cut, the words "Delay for Emerald Bend" written in black marker, and
the
the logo for the Gold Standard Inn imprinted on.
Do you know who owns this inn?
I do.
The owner
Is the defendant, Logan Gold.
Did there come a point in your investigation when you took Logan Gold into custody?
Yes, I arrested Logan Gold on December 4th, 2023.
But
A few hours after his arrest, I heard him talking with his spouse, Hopper DeRay, and he said that
his
his actions were motivated by, and I quote, ensuring the family inn could be passed down for generations.
Your Honor, there are no further questions at this time.
Thank you. Cross-examination?
Yes. Good evening, Your Honor. Lorraine Melander representing Logan Gold. Good evening, Riley Kim. Let's start off by reviewing your investigation of the property at 1335 Lakeside Drive. At the scene, you came across two pieces of Blue Dockline rope, correct?
That's correct.
You also took a pillowcase in as evidence, correct? But you never had this pillowcase examined for forensic evidence, did you?
That's not my comment.
Alexander attests to being drugged during their abduction. Did you find any of the drugs at the scene?
We did not really find a lot of
Okay. What about the straw that Alexander claims was used during the drugging?
Again, that was not found, but plenty of evidence.
All this evidence was collected from the storage shed, right?
Not all of it. Some was found in the driveway, like the tire tracks.
You also searched Logan Gold's house,
I did.
and that's where you found a receipt for materials including Blue Dockline rope, right?
Yes.
But this receipt also had other purchases for boat supplies on it.
As most things do, yes, it is.
Pivoting a bit, when you spoke with Logan Gold, they attested they had spent the morning delivering flyers around Ambrosio Lake, right?
Yes.
And you did find flyers in the homes around Ambrosio Lake?
I found only 5 flyers.
Gold also mentioned speaking to CJ Costley around 9:30 a.m., yes?
Yes, but I would like to point out that this was hours before the date was scheduled.
Okay. Moving on, at 2:45 p.m. on November 11th, you received the call from Taylor Alexander. This call was made from the house at 1335 Lakeside Drive, correct?
Yes.
And to enter the house, Alexander used their own keys?
This is how people enter the house. So yes.
Of the witnesses you spoke to, nobody had been in contact with Taylor Alexander that morning, had they?
No, he was kidnapped at 5:30 in the morning, which was very early.
So the first indication anyone received that a kidnapping had occurred at all was when Alexander made that call?
Yeah.
No one else could tell you a kidnapping occurred?
No one else entered his house.
Thank you, Your Honor. I have no further questions.
Your Honor, we would like the witness to be excused at this time.
Your Honor, next we'd like to call Ms. Taylor Alexander to the stand. And once again, for scoring purposes, my name is Aaliyah Bukai.
For scoring purposes, my name is Anna Fox, and tonight I am Taylor Alexander.
Good evening, Ms. Alexander.
Good evening.
Would you please briefly introduce yourself to the court?
My name is Taylor Alexander, and I'm 36 years old. I was a community college professor, and I ran for Emerald Bend City Council in 2021.
Why did you decide to run for city council?
I've lived in Emerald Bend my entire life, and the town can really benefit from increased tourism, and I was.
Were you running against anyone?
Yes, I was running against Harper Durant. We had a few debates already, and I was looking forward to the next one, which was scheduled for November 11th, 2017. It was a shame that it never happened.
What do you mean by that?
That ended up being the day that I was kidnapped. I was headed for a 5:30 a.m. run per usual. I love to talk about it, and I was hoping to start the debate morning off it.
But what happened instead?
I was grabbed just a few seconds after I logged out myself. I was scratching, trying to get them off me, but they threw a pillowcase over my head. They tied my arms behind my back. They threw me into the trunk of the car and drove away.
What is the next thing you remember after being driven?
After about an hour, I was taken out of the car and was dragged down a hill, which covered me in mud. I was then tied to a metal chair, both my arms and my legs. I was begging for them to let me go. I was trying to do anything to keep me alive.
Thank you, Ms. Alexander. During the duration of your kidnapping, were you awake the entire time?
No, they poked a straw through the pillowcase over my head and forced me to drink what I thought was cough syrup. After that, I remember getting drowsy and falling asleep.
What happened once you woke up?
Well, I was shaken awake and shortly after
Forced to drink another dose of the syrup. When I woke up after that, my arms and legs had been untied from the chair. That's when I discovered that the pillowcase over my head had the logo for the Gold Standard Inn and the words Duray for Emerald Bend. And that was when I realized I was in the storage shed of my own rental property.
Then what did you do?
Well, luckily I got up to the house and I called 911 on the landline.
Ms. Alexander, throughout your kidnapping, did you notice anything peculiar, if at all?
Well, other than the gruff voice, I noticed that my kidnapper kept on saying, "Everything comes back around."
Ms. Alexander, have you heard anyone use these words before?
Yes, only one person. As a matter of fact, they say it quite often.
And who is that person?
The defendant, Logan Gold, sitting at the defense table, right over there.
Thank you, Ms. Alexander. Thank you, Your Honor. I have no further questions at this time.
Thank you. Cross-examination?
Good evening, Your Honor. Emily Militich representing Logan Gold. When you left for your run at 5:30 a.m., you put your keys in your pocket?
Yeah, I believe I had my keys in my phone when I left.
And immediately when you stepped outside, you were grabbed?
Yeah, I was grabbed seconds after I stepped outside.
Then you were put in the back of a trunk?
Yes, I was.
Then you were pulled into some building which was later discovered to be your own shed?
Yeah, I didn't know it at the time, but it was my shed.
And before you were put in the shed, you had yet to be drugged?
No, prior to being in the shed, I was not drugged.
Okay. And you were awake the entire time?
Well, prior to being drugged and being knocked out by my kidnapper, I was awake.
Yes, but from being put in the trunk to arriving at the shed, you were still conscious?
No, yes, I was conscious. I was not drugged at that point.
And you heard the door to the shed open?
Yes, I did not know that it was a door to the shed.
But at no point from being put in the trunk to arriving at the shed did you feel your keys leave your pocket?
No, I believe they stayed on me, but my arms were tied behind my back. I couldn't access them.
Let's go back to the beginning for a moment. When you were initially grabbed, you weren't gagged at all?
No, I was not.
So when you were being grabbed by your kidnapper, you did not scream for help?
I was thrashing, trying to get them off of me. I didn't scream.
And when you were put in the trunk, you did not scream for help?
No, I didn't know what would happen if I did. I was trying to survive.
When you were taken out of the trunk, you never screamed for help?
No, I didn't know where I was.
And when you were dragged to the shed, you also never screamed for help?
No, I was being dragged down a hill. I was trying to live.
Okay. And because you claimed their voice was distorted, you cannot identify your kidnapper based on their voice?
Yeah, because the voice was distorted, I didn't recognize it.
Moving on now. Prior to the debate, you lost your job,
I was laid off from my job as a professor.
so your rental properties became your only source of income.
As most people do, I have one source of income, my properties.
And because Harper Derez wants to restrict rental properties, this election would likely have an effect on income in Emerald Bend.
Yes, it would put many Emerald Bend residents into financial distress.
And you were so concerned about the outcome of the election that you said Logan Gold and Harper Derez need to be stopped.
Yes, I was referring to them being stopped at the ballot box.
And in that same conversation when you said they need to be stopped, that's when you learned about the West Bethel case?
Yes, I believe CJ Cosley recommended that to me after we talked about the election.
The case where they faked their own kidnapping.
Yes, I believe that's what happened.
Thank you, Taylor Alexander. No further questions.
Thank you.
Redirect, Your Honor.
Of course.
Miss Alexander, did you fake your own kidnapping?
No, of course not. I put so much time and energy and effort into being a representative of Emerald Bend. I love my town, and I could never imagine doing something so evil to hurt it.
Thank you, Miss Alexander. Thank you, Your Honor. May this witness please be excused at this time?
Yes, you may be.
The people call Dr. Ray Forrest to the stand.
Good evening, Your Honor. My name is Sophie Gupta, and tonight I am Dr. Ray Forrest.
And for scoring purposes, my name is Cecile Salme. Dr. Ray Forrest, please briefly introduce yourself to the court.
My name is Dr. Ray Forrest. I'm 48 years old, and I'm the Chief Forensic Investigator of Rowan County, in which Emerald Bend is a part of.
Could you summarize your experience in this field?
I have an undergraduate degree, master's degree, and medical degree in forensic science. I also completed a 6-year residency in forensic pathology and passed the necessary exam to become a licensed pathologist. And most recently, I took a week-long tire track analysis seminar.
Your Honor, we would like the record to reflect that per stipulation number 5, Dr. Forrest is a certified expert. Dr. Forrest, what were you doing on Saturday, November 11th, 2023?
On Saturday, November 11th, Deputy Kim contacted me with a suspected case of kidnapping in which a drug was used to incapacitate the victim, Taylor Alexander. She also asked me to analyze other physical evidence found in the scene.
Let's talk about the drug that was administered. What was the process of analyzing it?
I drew Alexander's blood at 4:45 p.m. on November 11th and quickly conducted the toxicology report. I found that she had 160 nanograms per milliliter of doxylamine in her bloodstream.
Could you briefly describe what doxylamine is?
Doxylamine is a popular sleep aid that is used to treat insomnia and is very common in cough syrups. The recommended dose for adults is about 25 milligrams.
In your opinion, how many times was the drug administered to Alexander?
Due to the high concentration found in her bloodstream, I believe that she was given 2 doses, a bigger one to start, about 37.5 milligrams that would have lasted the better part of 6 hours until she was awoken, and then a smaller one that would have lasted about 4 hours.
Now, I'd like to ask about the other physical evidence you were asked to analyze. What did this consist of?
When I drew Alexander's blood, I was able to obtain a DNA sample and examine ligature marks found on her wrists. And I also was asked to analyze rope and tire tracks found at 1335 Lakeside Drive.
What did you find when examining Taylor Alexander's ligature marks?
I found that she had marks on her wrists, but none on her ankles. The ligature marks were about 3/8 inches wide.
You mentioned you also examined the rope found at the property. Can you describe what you found?
Yes, we found 2 pieces of blue line docking rope that were 3/8 inches wide and 36 inches long and were consistent with the ligature marks found on Taylor Alexander's wrists.
Now, I'd like to speak with you about the tire tracks you mentioned. Can you describe them for us?
Yes. Due to the tire tracks being fresh, I was able to analyze them with a high degree of certainty. I could tell that they were total tire 350 tires with a tread depth of exactly 5/32 of an inch, and a very specific impression lodged with, it was a pebble lodged in a very specific spot in the tire.
Dr. Forrest, are all tire tracks unique?
Yes, all tire tracks are unique due to constant tear and wear, and this is very, very true in places like Emerald Bend where there are lots of unpaved roads.
Did Deputy Kim ask you to compare these tire tracks to those of another car?
Yes, and it turned out there was a car that matched the same tire tracks, the same tread depth, and had a pebble lodge in a very specific spot in the tire like found on the tracks.
Who did the car belong to?
The defendant, Logan Gold.
Thank you, Dr. Ray Forrest. Thank you, Your Honor. There are no further questions at this time.
Cross-examination.
Good evening, Dr. Forrest.
Good evening.
You examined the tire tracks found at 1335 Lakeside Drive, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
You believe that the pebble found on the tires of Logan Gold's car matches an impression on the tracks?
Yes, that is true.
But you only found one of these impressions, right?
Yes, I only found one impression of a very specific pebble.
Dr. Forrest, you didn't compare the tracks to any other vehicles, did you?
Yes, that is correct.
Moving on, you examined the blue dockline rope found at the scene, correct?
Yes, that is correct. There were 2 pieces found.
And one of the ropes contained traces of human DNA belonging to Taylor Alexander?
Yes, I found traces of Taylor Alexander's DNA found on one piece of the rope.
You told us that it is possible to tie a slip knot on one's own hand or wrist, correct?
It is possible to tie one's hands, but it's very difficult to untie your own hands.
And despite ligature marks being found on Alexander's wrists, none were present on his ankles or legs?
Yes, we found them on her wrists.
Now, let's review the toxicology report you conducted for Taylor Alexander. You agree with Alexander's statement, or Alexander's recollection of being given 2 separate doses of doxylamine, right?
Yes, because of the high concentration found in her bloodstream.
And based on your estimation, the initial dose of doxylamine would have kept Alexander unconscious for around 6 hours, yes?
Yes, for around 6 hours until she was awoken.
And the second dose would have worn off enough for Alexander to be both awake and cogent for after 4 hours?
Yes, I believe so, given her overall good weight, health, and yeah.
Dr. Forrest, you are familiar with Alexander's recollection of events, aren't you?
Yes.
Alexander stated they were abducted at 5:30 a.m., correct?
Yes, that is correct.
And they said they weren't actually drugged until at least an hour later?
Yes.
Which would mean no earlier than 6:30 a.m., correct?
Yes.
Finally, they said they awoke around 2:30 p.m., is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
4 hours before 2:30 p.m. is 10:30 a.m., correct?
Yes, that is correct. But these times and these amount of hours are only approximates.
And 6 hours before 10:30 a.m. is 4:30 a.m.?
Yes, that is true.
Thank you, Dr. Forrest. Your Honor, I have no further questions.
Thank you.
May this witness please be excused, Your Honor.
Yes, you may be excused.
Good evening, Your Honor. I would like to call Ali Sandoval to the stand.
For scoring purposes, my name is Sophia Japp, and tonight I am Ali Sandoval.
Good evening, Ms. Sandoval. Would you please introduce yourself?
Hello, my name is Ali Sandoval. I'm 30 years old and a journalist for the Emerald Bend Daily Reporter. Essentially, everyone's business is my business, and business is booming.
As a journalist, did you ever cover the 2023 City Council election?
Yes, I've been covering the race for City Council between Harper Dray and Taylor Alexander throughout the past several months. Politics brings out the worst in people. Great for the media.
Did you interact with either of the candidates?
Yes, I have been present at all major campaign events and debates, as well as interviewing the candidates several times.
What about Logan Gold?
Well, Emerald Bend is a small town, and I knew Logan from years ago. My sibling dated them. I never actually met them until I started doing the campaign, through which I interacted with them several times. Though, they seem to take the campaign more seriously than Harper themselves.
Why do you say that?
Well, they certainly seem more passionate about interviews and campaign issues, and even instigated several fights with Alexander. They also kept repeating this phrase, everything comes back around.
Moving on to the events of November 11th, 2023. Where were you around 11 a.m.?
Well, I was at the town hall to report on the debates, which never took place, but that's not to say it wasn't eventful.
What do you mean by that?
Well, I arrived early and both teams already seemed stressed out, and Alexander's team seemed nervous that he had not yet arrived.
What about the DeRay campaign?
They were huddled around DeRay finishing up final preparations, while DeRay kept asking about their spouse's whereabouts, which struck me as odd, since in my experience, Logan is very punctual.
Could you please expand on that?
Well, they would cut off my interviews and they went a minute over the allotted time.
Did Gould ever show up?
Well, he showed up around 12:30, 30 minutes after the debate was supposed to take place. They appeared rather frazzled and out of breath.
What happened next?
Well, the debate was canceled since Alexander never showed up. But as I was leaving, Gould and DeRay were talking, and Gould said that everything has been taken care of.
Thank you, Your Honor. No further questions.
Cross-examination.
Yes, Your Honor.
You would agree with me that Emerald Bend is a small town?
Yes, Emerald Bend is a small town.
Everyone seems to know everyone?
Yes.
So it can be hard to find an unbiased account of town events?
Yes, but I try to provide one.
So you try and be as unbiased and impartial in your reporting as possible?
Yes, I do.
Because that's an important part of any trusted news source, correct?
It certainly is.
Even if you have a personal relationship with the subject of your reporting?
Yes, but it wasn't that much of a relationship. I only knew them because my sister dated them, but we never actually met.
But Logan Gould did date your sister, correct?
Yes, he did.
And they broke up?
Mm-hmm.
And their breakup was so bad that your sister had to leave town, correct?
Yes.
Not only that, but she never came back?
Yes.
So you were impartial when journaling about this election?
Well, I would try to keep my own personal acquaintances out of this when journaling on the election.
So you were being impartial when you said that Logan Gould had a lot of fights with Taylor Alexander?
Well, I experienced that firsthand during my interviews and journaling on the things that they put together in my campaign.
And you were being unbiased when you said that Logan Gould was the instigator of the fights between him and Alexander?
Yes.
And you were being impartial when you called Gould intense and not particularly friendly?
Like, impartial? Like, what do you mean by that? Like, unbiased?
Like, you weren't siding with one side. You weren't favoring a side.
Yes.
And you never interviewed Gould for his perspective on any of this, did you?
I mainly just interviewed the candidates, but Gould was there.
But you interviewed Taylor Alexander?
Yes.
Thank you, Your Honor. No further questions.
Thank you.
May this witness be excused?
Yes.
Your Honor, defense would like to call Cody Palmer to the stand.
Cody Palmer.
For scoring purposes, my name is Danica Milano, and tonight I am Dr. Cody Palmer.
Please introduce yourself to the court.
My name is Dr. Cody Palmer, and I am a private consulting forensics investigator.
What training have you received as a forensic investigator?
I received my undergraduate degree in forensic science from Texas A&M and my medical degree from the University of Nevada, Las Vegas. Like Dr. Forrest, I completed a 6-year residency in forensic pathology and passed all necessary exams to become a licensed forensic pathologist.
What connection, if any, do you have to the case at hand?
I reviewed Dr. Forrest's toxicology test on Alexander, as well as the reports on the blue docking rope and tire tracks found at 1335 Lakeside Drive.
What were you able to determine from the toxicology report?
160 nanograms per milliliter of doxylamine were found in Alexander's bloodstream at the time of the test. Now, due to this high concentration of doxylamine in her system, it can call into question whether her testimony to the police was true.
Could you briefly elaborate on doxylamine?
Of course, doxylamine is used to treat insomnia as well as symptoms of a common cold, and in Alexander's case, it was paired with dextromethorphan, which can cause raging hallucinations.
Now, Alexander reports being given 2 doses of doxylamine. What are your thoughts on the amount of doses given?
I believe that Alexander was likely given 1 large dose at around noon, but there's no way to conclusively tell the spacing in between the doses as well as how many doses were given.
Did you read any of Dr. Forrest's other reports?
Yes, I read her report on the blue docking rope.
Do you agree with what was stated in these reports?
Not quite. The ligature marks could have been self-inflicted. Additionally, while difficult, it's not impossible to tie and untie a slip knot unassisted.
You mentioned you reviewed the tire tracks found at 1335 Lakeside Drive. What can you tell us about those?
After reviewing the tracks, I do agree with Dr. Forrest that the tires are total tire 350 wheels, but I disagree with her tire wear analysis, especially regarding the pebble found in the tracks.
Could you please elaborate on this pebble?
Absolutely. If Logan's car did indeed make the tracks found at the scene, then I believe that the pebble would have made a more obvious impression. Additionally, Emerald Bend features a myriad of pebbles as well as many unpaved roads.
Did anything else about the tire tracks stand out to you?
Yes, the tread depth of the tire tracks found at the scene were 5/32 of an inch, while Logan's tread depth was 6/32 of an inch. Now, due to this 1/32 of an inch difference, in my professional opinion, I believe that there is no way to conclusively prove that these tracks belong to Gold.
Thank you, Dr. Palmer. Your Honor, I have no further questions.
Thank you. Cross-examination?
For scoring purposes, my name is Cecile Salome. Dr. Palmer, is it true that you did not speak with Taylor Alexander at any point in time during your analysis of the events that occurred?
Yes, this is true. I did not speak with her.
Would you agree that in order to assess someone's grogginess or strength of memory, it is very helpful to actually meet the person?
Yes, I would agree.
Now, drugs affect everyone differently, correct?
Yes, each human is different, so yes.
And Taylor Alexander is by most standards very healthy.
Yes, I would suppose so, yes.
And drugs tend to affect young, healthy people at least?
Yes, that is true.
Now, would you agree that you cannot tell exactly how many doses Taylor Alexander was given?
Yes, I cannot tell the doses nor the spacing.
And you cannot tell exactly what was the spacing of the doses that was given?
Yes, as I said, I cannot.
Moving to the docking rope found at 1335 Lakeside Drive, it was blue docking rope, correct?
Yes, it was.
And you would agree that with possible to tie one's own hands in a slip knot is difficult to untie?
Yes, it's difficult but not impossible.
The tire tracks found at 1335 Lakeside Drive were total tire 350 tire tracks, correct?
Yes, they were.
And that's the kind of tire that Logan Gold has, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
The tire tracks at Lakeside Drive also had a characteristic indent, correct?
It did.
And Logan Gold's tires had a pebble stuck in, roughly through the same place of that indent.
Yes, although there are many pebbles in Emerald Bend.
You are aware that you and Dr. Forrest disagree on the analysis of these tracks, right?
Yes, I am aware of this.
And you're aware that Forrest has taken a specialized tire track analysis seminar, aren't you?
Yes.
And you haven't taken such a class, have you?
I have not, although I have taken supplementary training classes.
Thank you. Thank you, Your Honor. No further questions.
Thank you.
Your Honor, may my witness be excused?
Yes, good.
Your Honor, may the defense call Harper Dre to the stand?
Yes.
For scoring purposes, my name is Maya Day, and tonight I am Harper DeRay.
For scoring purposes, my name is Kaya Gersick. Can you please introduce yourself to the court?
My name is Harper DeRay. I am 40 years old, and I have lived in Emerald Bend my entire life. I was recently elected for city council.
Do you know Logan Gold?
Yes, she is my spouse. I have been happily married to her for 12 years, and she has taken on the role as my assistant campaign manager.
How has she helped you as assistant manager?
She's amazing. She's hardworking at her business, and she has been with me every step of the way during this campaign.
Do you know Taylor Alexander?
Yes, they were my opponent when I ran for city council.
We argued on the issue of vacation rentals. I was against it while Taylor was for it.
What is your relationship like with Taylor Alexander?
Not personal, we just had different views. Even though Taylor Alexander was my opponent, I still thought of them as a genuinely good person.
And moving on to the morning of November 11th, what happened then?
Well, it was the day of the debate. I woke up at around 9 a.m. and found a note from Logan saying that she was out passing out campaign flyers and would be back before the debate started.
And how did you feel about this?
I wasn't too worried because I know how nervous she would get before the debate.
Did you notice anything unusual?
Not really. I saw that she left her phone on the bedside table, but I knew how they would get stressed before the debate, so I didn't think much of it. So it was probably an accident.
What time did you arrive at the debate?
I arrived at the debate at around 11 a.m. Logan still hadn't arrived, and Taylor's team was trying to get a hold of Alexander. It wasn't until 12:30 when Logan had arrived.
Could you explain what happened next?
It was 30 more minutes at 1 p.m. Alexander still wasn't here, and Logan, our team, and I decided to call off the debate. We decided to go back to headquarters, and it was then Logan apologized and explained to me that there was a car accident and it had broken down by the fire road.
Did you hear anything around 5:30 p.m.?
Deputy Kim told us that Alexander had been kidnapped. I was genuinely concerned for Taylor, and even though we didn't share the same political beliefs, I still thought she was still a great person. And my team, including myself, wouldn't wish that upon anyone.
Could you tell us what happened on November 14th?
Deputy Kim had arrested, Although I won the election, I still hoped it happened under better circumstances.
And could you tell us what happened on December 4th?
I was horrified when Deputy Kim arrested Logan, a person I love, trust, and know better than I know myself, got accused of something like this.
What did you do when Logan Gold was arrested?
I immediately went down to the police station to talk to Logan. Deputy Kim was very adamant that I knew everything, and also that Logan wouldn't jeopardize what we have worked for.
How did you feel about your spouse's arrest?
I'm hurt that anyone would think that Logan had a part in this. I can assure you, she had no involvement in this. We just both want Alexander to be safe. We both want the best for our city and the people in it.
Thank you, Your Honor. No further questions.
Thank you. Cross-examination.
For scoring purposes, my name is Rachel Cornwell. Now, Ms. Stray, you woke up at 9 a.m. on November 11th, is that right?
That is correct.
And Logan Gold wasn't there?
That is correct.
So you can't tell the court when Logan Gold left that morning?
No, I cannot tell.
Now, I want to talk a little bit more about your campaign. You state that Logan was the one who encouraged you to run?
Yes, that is correct.
In fact, you probably would not have run without his encouragement.
Yes.
And you state that he has been with you every step of the way?
Yes, he has.
Even acting as your assistant campaign manager?
Yes.
Now, this all goes to show that Logan was extremely passionate about the outcome of the election. Is that right?
Yes, that is correct.
In fact, he was so passionate that sometimes it would cause you to feel pressure.
Yes, but I still loved his encouragement.
Now, not only was he passionate about the outcome of the election, but he was also extremely passionate about the Gold Standard Inn and the success of it.
Yes, that is correct.
It has been passed down in the family for generations?
Yes.
And you hope to pass it down to your children. It has been financially supporting your family.
Correct.
Now, you were anxious for the debate, is that right?
Yes.
It was critical to the success of your campaign?
Yes, that is correct.
That in many ways, it could be the last chance to sway any undecided voters?
Yes.
And it could be the last chance to turn the election in your favor?
That is correct.
Excuse me? And that anxiety was only made worse by the fact that public speaking has never really been your strong suit?
That is correct.
Now, the debate was never rescheduled, was it, after Miss Alexander didn't show up?
No, it wasn't.
And the election was 3 days later on November 14th?
That is correct.
And to be clear, Mr. Ray, you won the election.
Yes.
Thank you, Your Honor. I have no further questions.
Thank you.
May the witness be excused?
Yes, you may be excused.
May the defense call Logan Gold to the stand?
Yes, Logan Gold.
And for scoring purposes, my name is Sharice Lee, and tonight I am Logan Gold.
Could you please introduce yourself to the court?
I am Logan Gold. I am 39 years old. I am the spouse to Harper DeRay, and I am her campaign assistant campaign manager.
What is your relationship like with Harper DeRay?
She's a wonderful spouse. I admire the way she uses her platform to help the community. Yeah.
What are some issues you and DeRay are seeing regarding Emerald Bend?
We're seeing a lot of problems with overfishing and polluting of Emerald Bend's lakes, which is causing a lot of problems to our beautiful, beautiful home.
What, if any, impact does this have on you as a citizen?
As a citizen, we hate to see our beautiful home destroyed, and as the owner of the Gold Standard Inn, we are facing a lot of problems with the rental property industry right now.
And moving on, what is your relationship like with Taylor Alexander?
Taylor and I have never seen eye to eye on political views, but I respect her.
And moving on to the morning of November 11th, could you tell us what happened then?
On the morning of November 11th, I was really nervous and I was very anxious for the upcoming debate. So I wanted to go help Harper pass out flyers. I didn't want Harper to get nervous, or I didn't want her to be unaware of where I was, so I left her a note. And in my nervousness, I somehow left my phone at home.
Could I have Exhibit A? Oh, they're up there. Okay. Permission to approach the witness, Your Honor?
Yes.
What is this?
This is a map of Emerald Bend.
Would you say this is a fair and accurate representation of the map?
Yes.
Could you show where you went to pass out flyers?
Right here, around this area.
What did you do when you got to the lake?
When I got to the lake, I passed out flyers and I saw my friend CJ Costley, and we talked about the upcoming election.
The defense requests to enter Exhibit A into evidence. Where did you go next?
Next, I wanted to go down to the town square to talk to upcoming voters. So I took the fire lane because I thought it'd be a shortcut.
What, if anything, happened while you were driving on this road?
While I was driving down this road, my car unexpectedly broke down.
How did you feel about this?
I was really frustrated. I didn't want to be late to the debate. I was already running late, and this just made it so much worse.
Your Honor, permission to approach the witness?
Yes.
Do you recognize this, Exhibit F?
Yes, I do.
What is it?
It is a receipt of the repair parts to repair my car.
Would you say that this is a fair and accurate representation of the receipt?
Yes, it is.
The defense requests to enter Exhibit F.
What happened next? Next, I went to the debate, and I was really surprised to see that Taylor Alexander wasn't there and that the debate hadn't started.
What happened later that evening?
Later that evening, I found out that Taylor had been kidnapped and that this campaign was affiliated with it.
Did there come a point where Deputy Kim questioned you?
Yes. Deputy Kim questioned me.
What, if any, evidence did she find?
She found evidence of docking rope to dock my boat that I was planning to use.
What happened next?
Next, Deputy Kim arrested me the next day.
Thank you, Your Honor. No further questions.
Thank you. Cross-examination.
For scoring purposes, my name is Rachel Cornwell. Now, Ms. Gould, you left your home at 8:30 a.m. on the morning of the debate. Is that right?
Yes.
And you left your phone at home.
Yes, but as I said, I was really nervous.
Which you admit is really unusual for you to leave your phone at home.
Yes.
And you arrived at the debate at 12:30. Is that right?
That is correct.
And between 8:30 and 12:30, the only person you spoke to or saw was CJ Costley.
Yes.
You didn't see any other neighbor in the area?
No.
And you state the reason that you were late to the debate was because your car broke down. Is that right?
Yes.
And even then, stranded on the side of the road, the only person that you came across was, even then stranded on the side of the road, you didn't come across anybody else?
No, I did not.
And you state that you bought a replacement car part?
Yes.
Turning your attention to Exhibit F, is that a fair and accurate depiction of the receipt?
Yes, it is.
It is dated November 13th, 2023.
Yes.
And you were beginning to be questioned by Deputy Kim on November 11th.
Yes.
Now, I'd like to talk a bit more about your business. You own the Gold Standard Inn.
Yes.
It has been your family for generations?
Yes.
And you'd like to pass it down to your own children too?
Yes, I would love to.
But your business has been having some financial difficulties.
Yes, but COVID has also impacted this.
And the main reason for the financial difficulties is because of the rise of vacation rentals in Emerald Bend.
Yes.
You agree with me that you oppose vacation rentals in Emerald Bend?
Yes.
And Harper Duray ran for city council in order to go against them.
Can you please repeat the question?
And Harper Duray ran for city council in order to go against them.
Yes.
And you were heavily involved in your spouse's spouse's campaign.
I would say so, yes.
You had the official title of assistant campaign manager?
Yes, I do.
And you've been by Harper's side the entire time?
Yes.
Now, just to be clear, you knew that Taylor Alexander supported vacation rentals?
Yes.
And you knew that she had a vacation home on Lakeside Drive?
Yes.
And just to be clear, you often use the phrase, everything comes back around?
Yes, I do.
Thank you, Your Honor. No further questions.
Thank you.
May our witness be excused? Witness may be excused.
Your Honor, defense would like to call CJ Costley to the stand.
For scoring purposes, my name is Eliza Fellows.
For scoring purposes, my name is Emily Miletich. Please briefly introduce yourself to the court.
Hi, my name's CJ Costley. I'm 27 and I've lived in Emerald Bend my whole life. I'm currently pursuing my dream job being a podcaster in my podcast, Small Town Intrigue.
As a resident of Emerald Bend, did you pay attention to the 2023 City Council election?
Yes, I'm literally obsessed with the election race. I've gone to almost every single campaign event as well as interviewing both candidates.
How, if at all, do you know Logan Gold?
I've been following Logan Gold and their spouse throughout the campaign process, interviewing both of them for my podcast.
Let's talk a bit about your podcast. Why did you start it?
I started my podcast when the election race began because I think a lot of people would really benefit and enjoy from hearing about a small town race.
During these interviews, did you learn anything about the candidates' opinions on one another?
Yes, during these interviews, Alexander got personal.
How would you describe Alexander's behavior during the interview?
Taylor was really hostile, you know. They were really tense. They went in this
Objection,
whole
Your Honor, speculation.
Your Honor, may I respond?
Yes.
This is not speculation because Taylor Alexander did not like Logan Gold, and this is evidence of that. We are not proving that the quote is accurate.
Your Honor, regardless of what Ms. Alexander may think of their opponent or their opponent's campaign manager, this is still speculation since CJ Costley cannot testify about someone else's thoughts and feelings about someone else.
Could you please restate your response to her question?
Well, I didn't finish it, so I just repeat.
Just, yeah, repeat
Would you like
it.
me to repeat the question?
Yes.
Yes, please.
How would you describe Alexander's behavior during the interview?
Alexander was kind of hostile, you know. They were really tense. I think that's all I said for the... Should I say the rest? Because I think she objected before.
Yes, just continue and then you can explain your argument further.
Herpage is horrible for Emerald Bend, and so is their spouse, Logan Gold. They're abusive to their overworked, underpaid employees at their overpriced hotel. Those two need to be stopped before they do any permanent damage. This is not the behavior I normally get in my interviews.
Your Honor, given the response, I'd like to amend my objection to hearsay.
Response?
This is not hearsay because they are testifying not that the quote is accurate, but that they had the feelings about it, and that's just their reaction to the quote.
Response?
Your Honor, this is still hearsay since it is an out-of-court statement being used for the truth of the matter.
Response?
I don't want to respond.
No response? Okay, well then I will sustain the objection and then this response will be excluded from the case.
Thank you. Okay. Did DeRay or Gold have anything negative to say about Taylor?
No, in fact, during my interview with both Logan and DeRay, they were both very polite and respectful towards Alexander.
Moving on to the day's debate, did you interact with any of the candidates that day?
No, but when I was going to get my daily newspaper, I saw Logan Gold. When I saw her, she was passing out flyers around porches on my neighborhood.
Are you aware of what time that was?
I saw Logan at like 9:30 and we talked about the upcoming debate. We couldn't have talked for more than like 5 to 10 minutes, but I can totally, absolutely confirm they were passing out flyers.
Did you attend the debate?
Yes, I did. It was legit crazy that Taylor never showed. I was also like really surprised when Logan didn't show up until 12:30. I saw them whisper something about their whereabouts to their spouse, but I was literally too far to hear. The next day I heard about Alexander's kidnapping. Juicy. I obviously had to mention this on my podcast.
Did you do anything to prepare for this episode?
Yeah, I listened to old tapes.
Did you learn anything from listening to your old tapes?
It was honestly so weird. When I was listening to my, I listened to my interview with Alexander for research. When I was listening to it, I noticed that I mentioned one of my fave ever cases to them, West Beffa's case. In this case, West Beffa fakes their own kidnapping. The specifics of West Beffa's case and Alexander's case seem kind of similar.
Objection, Your Honor, improper lay witness opinion.
Your Honor, may I respond?
Yes.
This witness has researched the Taylor Alexander case to prepare for her podcast and is well aware of the facts of the West Beffa case. And therefore, they are in a position where she is knowledgeable to draw conclusions regarding the similarity. Furthermore, the rules of evidence state that a lay witness can draw conclusions regarding similarities between two different handwritings without any expertise, so it is not unreasonable for a lay witness to talk about the similarities in two cases.
Any response?
Your Honor, even though CJ Costley may know about West Beffa's case, they may not know as much about Taylor Alexander's case since they're in no position to know, since they're not a detective or any sort of expert, which is why this is improper lay witness opinion.
Response?
This witness has researched both the Taylor Alexander case and the West Beffa case, all the facts.
Response?
Your Honor, again, since they're not an expert or a detective in this case, we cannot be sure that they have researched everything to draw this conclusion. Thus, it is improper opinion testimony.
One last response.
Though, as stated in the rules of evidence, the lay witness can draw conclusions regarding the similarities in two cases, and having researched and being knowledgeable on all the facts of the case, they are in a position where they are knowledgeable to draw the similarity.
I think both arguments were very well stated. I'm going to overrule the objection just in this case, but thank you for your arguments.
Thank you, CJ Costley. Your Honor, no further questions.
For scoring purposes, my name is Aaliyah Bukai. Good evening, Ms. Costley.
Good evening.
You mentioned you were a podcaster covering the City Council election in Emerald Bend?
I've had the pleasure to do so, yes.
And you mentioned you were not biased to either of the candidates?
I remain unbiased.
But you ended up supporting Harper DeRay in this election, yes?
After careful consideration of both of the candidates and their campaigns, I did end up siding with Harper, yes.
Thank you. And you interviewed Harper DeRay only once, yes?
Yes, I did.
And you spoke to Logan Gold only a few times?
Yes, I spoke to him a few times.
So you did not know either of them personally?
I mean, I didn't know their whole life story, but I knew a bit about them.
Is that a yes to my question?
Yes.
Thank you. Moving on to the morning of November 11th, the date of the debate. You mentioned that you spoke to Logan Gold at 9:30 a.m.?
I did, yes.
But you cannot tell us where Logan Gold was before 9:30?
I'm not psychic, no.
Say at 5:30 you didn't know where they were?
I'm not awake that early. I need my beauty sleep.
Is that a yes to my question?
Yes.
And you cannot tell us where Logan Gold was between 9:30 and 12:30 when they were seen at the debate?
No.
So since you cannot tell us where Logan Gold was between 5:30 and 9:30 and then 9:30 and 12:30, you do not know what they were doing within those time frames?
I don't.
Thank you, Ms. Costley. Thank you, Your Honor. I have no further questions.
Your Honor, may my witness be excused?
Yes. Are we ready for closing statements? Okay, prosecution, you may proceed.
Taylor Alexander ran for city council last November, believing it to be an opportunity to advocate for the success of the town she cared about. Instead, she was bound, tied, and forced into the trunk of a vehicle. She should have been debating her opponent, Harper DeRay, explaining her plans to the people she hoped to represent. Instead, she was being dragged down a muddy hill, her wrists tied to the arms of a metal chair, drugged and taunted by her captor, blamed for her own atonement with the promise that everything comes back around. Now, this case doesn't come down to what Taylor Alexander had to endure. She told that to you herself. Instead, it comes down to one simple question: why? Obviously, Taylor wasn't the only one hoping to win this election. However, even more motivated than her opponent, Harper DeRay, was Logan Gold. Running out of time, each path they didn't just bring him closer to victory or defeat. It brought his legacy itself further into jeopardy. He made a decision, not just in the name of his spouse or in the name of the election, but in the name of his livelihood, in the name of the hotel passed from gold to gold for generations. Knowing Taylor Alexander's running routine and possessing the materials to do what had to be done, he made one last-ditch effort to widen the margin, to take the victim out of the picture and his legacy off the line. Your Honor, the people ask you find Logan Gold guilty of kidnapping under Calcrim 1215. Now, the defendant got on the stand tonight and they told you a story. They told you how they took a fire road where nobody would run across them, and how they forgot their phone at home on arguably the most important night of the election and left their house, their spouse unable to corroborate anything. It was their only way of telling time. Okay. In fact, the only person able to back up his story is CJ Costley, with an interaction that lasted mere minutes. However, the evidence presented tonight has explained exactly what happened. First, that this story didn't begin on November 11th, but on November 5th, when Logan bought the supplies needed to kidnap Taylor, documented by the receipt found in their home. That, knowing Alexander's running routine, he slipped out of the house earlier than claimed. He had ample time to kidnap Taylor, bring her out to Lakeside Drive, leaving tire tracks examined and confirmed by Dr. Forrest. Then, leaving Taylor bound and drugged, he returned, conveniently running into CJ Costley at 9:30 a.m. He then came back to re-drug Taylor, keeping her in a stupor, and taunted her with her well-established moral philosophy and righteous justification that everything comes back around. Now, Logan made it to the debate. Late, of course, but knowing full well that he had ensured his victory, and reassured Harper of just that, they had taken care of it all. Then he simply just had to return home, sanitize any trace of Taylor from his trunk with oxalic acid, and wait patiently, knowing that he had maintained Harper's win. As stated, this case comes down most evidently to the why. Struggling financially for years, this case wasn't just political, it was personal. One moment. The rental home bill posed a threat to the future of Gold's family. It was economically tasking and risked the hotel pass from Gold to Gold for generations, and that they inherited from their parents and hoped to pass to their children. And so, Gold pushed. They pushed Harper to run for office, and then they pushed her every step of the way, forcing her to win, and dominating interviews and pressuring her until it wasn't enough. They knew that debate could be a turning moment for the election, and they knew that their partner wasn't very good at public speaking, and they knew that they had to win. Their legacy was on the line. Your Honor, the people have demonstrated beyond a reasonable doubt that Logan Gold, a man with every reason and resource to commit this crime, kidnapped Taylor Alexander. For these reasons, we ask that you return a verdict of guilty under CalCrim 1215. Thank you.
Defense?
This case boils down to one undeniable truth. Taylor Alexander was desperate. Desperate for money, desperate for power, and willing to go to any lengths, even fabricating a story that casts suspicion on an innocent person. Tonight, the prosecution has presented a convoluted and unreasonable case, riddled with gaps, assumptions, and contradictions. The prosecution has told you that at 5:30 a.m. on November 11th, Logan Gold kidnapped Taylor Alexander outside their home. Their basis for this claim relies on the testimony of a single eyewitness, a substandard investigation, and circumstantial evidence. But let's break this testimony down in its entirety. Starting with Taylor Alexander's testimony. The most fundamental part of CalCrim 1215 that the people had to prove beyond a reasonable doubt was that Logan Gold committed the crime. However, Taylor admitted they didn't see or recognize the person who allegedly grabbed him. No sight, no voice, nothing to tie Logan to the scene. As they testified today, they could not see the kidnapper, nor identify them by their voice, and therein lies reasonable doubt. But even looking past that, Taylor claimed to have had her keys in her pocket from the moment she left the house until being put in the shed. If her keys never left her possession, and there were no signs of forced entry, how could Logan Gold or anyone else have entered the shed? Yet another question arises as the story progresses. Did Taylor Alexander scream for help? Did they even attempt to escape? The answer becomes clear that at no point, from being placed in the trunk, even prior to being drugged, to being taken out of the shed, did they scream for help, despite the fact that there was nothing preventing them from doing so. Let's take a closer look at the forensic evidence presented tonight. Based on the prosecution's own expert witness, Dr. Ray Forrest's estimations, in order for Taylor Alexander's own story to make sense, the drugs would have had to be administered at 4:30 a.m., 1 hour prior to the alleged kidnapping. Additionally, while Dr. Forrest claimed that the tire tracks matched Gold's tires, Dr. Cody Palmer contradicted this, explaining how not only did the tread depth differ, but the pebble indent was entirely nonspecific. In addition to these discrepancies, the boat rope found in the shed bears no fingerprints of Logan Gold. The people uses the receipt then to link this evidence to Gold, but while doing so fails to mention that Emerald Bend is located on a lake and that Gold owns a boat. Simply put, purchasing rope is not proof of any crime. The people's next piece of evidence continues to raise more questions than answers. The prosecution failed to mention that Gold Standard Inn had been broken into weeks prior to the kidnapping. Pillowcases were stolen, the same pillowcases that were used in this crime. This leads us into the subpar investigation by Deputy Kim, as they lost crucial evidence and failed to conduct a thorough investigation of Alexander's entire property. If the deputy can't track evidence or conduct a thorough investigation, what else was missed? The evidence presented doesn't add up. Each inconsistency, each failure to investigate, only raises more doubt about the prosecution's case. Not only does the lack of evidence and inadequate investigation by the deputy raise questions, but so does Alexander's own actions and motivations. Taylor Alexander's testimony revealed two crucial facts. First, their rental properties were their primary source of income, and that the income was threatened by DeRays, and a fierce advocate against rental properties. These two facts combined filled Taylor Alexander with desperation. Desperation to win, desperation that led to their deception. And Your Honor, even if you feel there is not enough sufficient evidence to prove Alexander staged their own kidnapping, there is not sufficient evidence to convict Logan Gold of it. This case isn't about what might have happened. It's about what did happen. And people have failed to meet their burden of proof. Desperation led Taylor Alexander to fabricate this story, to deceive you, and to turn an innocent person into collateral damage for their own gain. Tonight, the people are desperate for a case to prove beyond, they have attempted to string together pieces of evidence in the effort of building a case to prove beyond a reasonable doubt. Your Honor, the lack of evidence and contradictions in Taylor's testimony and the unreasonable claims by the prosecution all lead to one conclusion. Logan Gold is not guilty. Don't let their desperation cloud your judgment.
Rebuttal?
Yes, Your Honor. Opposing counsel has attempted to paint Taylor Alexander as a criminal. However, their main point of topic was desperation breeds deception. Now, Taylor Alexander was a victim, and let us be clear, she is a victim. Desperation, yes, she had motives, but the person who was the most desperate out of the two of them was Logan Gold. The theory they opposed is far from reasonable. Every motivation ascribed to Taylor Alexander is seen in Logan Gold tenfold. From the financial pressure to the debate itself, Gold was the one with a family threatened, a 2-year-old to sacrifice for. Gold was the one in the debate relying on a candidate who couldn't speak in public. And at the end of the day, Gold was the one who came out on top. Alexander sabotaged, DeRay coming out on top. Thank you.
Defense?
The opposing counsel today has presented you a case relying on reasonable doubt. Their case presents you with Taylor Alexander, who had been drugged, but not until they were placed into the shed. So they had yet to be drugged and could have screamed for help or attempted to escape, which there is no proof that they did. Taylor Alexander had the motivation. They needed the money and the power coming from the election, but also relied on their rental properties for income, and Harper DeRays wanted to take that away. The fire road that Logan Gold used was only as a shortcut. There was no other intention of using this road, and the car unexpectedly broke down. The opposing counsel has also failed to account for that Logan Gold had a boat, and they lived on a lake, so the rope is not establishing a proper use of evidence, as they could have just bought the rope for their own boat. Thank you.
All right, well, thank you, everyone. Give yourself a round of applause. Great job. Very nice arguments from both sides. You all did an amazing job. And again, just all the back and forth. I like the objections that we saw. Just for the next minute, I'm gonna again process this information. You guys can discuss amongst your tables and yeah.
The worst. So stressful. I know I kept tripping on my words earlier. I was way worse. I did the first one. Oh my god, I thought you could make this product come off. You poops your pants down. Guys, I had this entire I had this entire bag for that last one. I stole this from your bag. And I kept just repeating myself. I was just repeating myself. This was even. It's just no, you do not know those. I was literally just repeating myself. I'm exhausted. I have no idea what you just said. Wow. That's crazy. Oh, yeah, I totally agree. Guys, I quite literally just took words and phrases out of this that I saw as both of my rebuttals. I forgot we had objections, so I was so ill prepared.
I rephrased this.
Was Wesley's answer?
Should I give feedback?
And I kept having to introduce myself. And you're probably seeing the whole only on the second one. You're probably seeing the whole
It's just a second.
Did you hear what she said? I need to hear section.
All right, whenever you're ready.
Okay, so there are two announcements. One is my verdict as the judge, and then the second announcement will be from Coach Molly and Coach Eric, who gathered all of the performances tonight and determined a winner. So, but again, regardless, everyone did a great job, so feel very proud of yourselves. And for me, my verdict is obviously based on the evidence that was presented tonight, nothing personal, so. Okay, so with that being said, I do find Logan Gold guilty. Again, great arguments, but based on the evidence, especially the forensic evidence, the car tracks, just everything kind of led, prosecution did a great job of our argument, defense did a great job of defending it, but again, that's just my ruling based on what I saw here tonight. It's kind of ironic because I am a defense attorney with this case. But with that being said, the determining scores of tonight, again by our coaches, they have decided that the prosecution wins. So congratulations, prosecution.
Double win. We lost twice.
And I'll reiterate, great job to everyone. And just in terms of really quick feedback, I'll just be short and sweet. So okay, so defense, again, great job. Just remember when you introduce yourselves. For example, Aaliyah should say, for scoring purposes, my name is blah, blah, blah. So when you're in the actual courtroom, that's what you'll typically say, but through time, you gotta get used to that. And then, yeah, you guys all did a really good job. I would just say maybe feel a bit more confidence, but of course, this is your first time doing it. So, the more you do it, the more you get used to it. So again, that confidence just comes with time, and you're all doing great work so far, so it's looking great for you. And prosecution, also an amazing job. Witnesses, everyone. I just want to shout out our deputy. You did amazing on the cross responses.
Yes, good job.
That was excellent. I just wanted to point that out. And again, everyone did amazing jobs. You're all excellent, and through time we'll all get better at this. You're already off to a great start. So congratulations on, for some of your first trial. But yeah.
Thank you.
Round of applause.
Yeah, no, you're fine. All right, give me a sec. All right, well, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us for our 4th annual mock trial showcase. If you want to know more about mock trial in general, our website is ndbmocktrial.com, or you can reach out to me directly. This will be on YouTube in a few days if you missed anything. But thank you so much for being here, and we look forward to seeing you in the fall, and hopefully you take part in NDB mock trial too, right? Because this is an incredible program as an individual. It's an incredible program for the school and for everyone, and I just love it so much, and I hope you're falling in love with it too. So thank you so much again, and we will see you soon. We'll be at the welcome dinner. If you're coming to the welcome dinner as well, we'll have a table. Come talk to us. That's in May. But anyway, so thank you so much. I got to round these rascals up, but have a good evening, and I hope to hear from you, see you, etc. soon. All right? Have a good night, everybody.